The cargo shuttle had been burning for 2 days before anyone found it. Corporal Danny Vance spotted the smoke first. It rose in a thin black line against the orange sky of 442B, twisting up from the rocky Badlands 3 kilometers outside the colony perimeter. He called it in to base, adjusted his patrol route, and walked toward it alone. The colony world was quiet that morning. Too quiet, Danny often thought. He had been stationed here for 11 months now, serving with the United Earth Defense Corps Peacekeeping Unit. The job was simple: keep the peace, protect the settlers, watch the border where human territory ended and territory began. Most days nothing happened. Most days Danny walked the same patrol routes, checked the same sensors, and returned to the same small room in the barracks where he slept alone. He missed Earth. He missed the noise of it, the cars and the people and the dogs barking in the morning. Out here, the only sounds were wind and the distant hum of the colony generators. The crashed shuttle was a supply vessel from Earth. Danny recognized the markings on the hull even though fire had blackened most of the metal. It must have come down hard during the storm 3 nights ago. No one had reported it missing, which meant it was probably automated. No pilot, no crew, just cargo. Danny moved through the wreckage carefully. Most of the crates had been destroyed in the crash or burned in the fire that followed. Agricultural supplies, according to the manifest panel that still flickered weakly near the front of the ship. Seeds, fertilizers, equipment for the colony farms. He was about to call it in and head back when he heard the sound. It was a low growl, weak but angry, coming from somewhere beneath a pile of broken metal and melted plastic. Danny drew his sidearm and approached slowly. He had seen strange creatures on this world. Most of them were harmless. Some were not. The sometimes sent hunting parties into the neutral zone looking for sport. If one of their animals had gotten loose near the colony, he needed to know about it. He pushed aside a piece of scorched metal with his boot. 2 small eyes stared up at him. They were black and full of fury. The creature was about the size of a small dog. It had thick gray and white fur, a flat head, and short, powerful legs. Its ears were small and round. Its claws were long and curved. It was covered in burns and cuts, and it looked like it had not eaten in days. But it was not afraid. It looked up at Danny with pure defiance, as if daring him to come closer. Danny knew what it was immediately. He had grown up watching nature documentaries with his grandfather back in Montana. The old man had loved animals, especially the tough ones, the survivors, the fighters. This was a honey badger. Danny holstered his weapon and crouched down slowly. The honey badger growled again, louder this time. It tried to stand, but its back leg was injured. It fell back down but kept its eyes locked on Danny, ready to fight even though it could barely move. "Easy," Danny said softly. "Easy, little guy. I am not going to hurt you." He reached into his pack and pulled out a ration bar. He broke off a piece and tossed it toward the animal. The honey badger sniffed it, then ate it in one quick bite. It looked at Danny again, still suspicious but slightly less hostile. Over the next hour, Danny fed the creature the rest of his rations. He used his med kit to clean its wounds and wrap its injured leg. The honey badger bit him twice during the process, drawing blood both times. Danny did not mind. He had expected worse. By the time the sun began to set, the honey badger had stopped growling. It sat in the curve of Danny's arm, exhausted and finally calm. Danny looked down at it and shook his head. "How did you even get here?" he asked. The answer was obvious when he thought about it. The cargo shuttle had carried agricultural supplies, seeds and soil samples from Earth. Somewhere along the way, this creature had gotten into one of the crates. Maybe it had been looking for food. Maybe it had been hiding from a predator. Either way, it had traveled across the stars without anyone knowing. Danny knew the regulations. Earth fauna were not allowed on colony worlds without special permits. The ecosystems were too fragile. The risks were too high. If he reported this animal, it would be taken away, studied, probably killed. He looked at the honey badger again. It had fallen asleep in his arm, its small chest rising and falling with each breath. Even in sleep, its face looked angry. Danny made his decision. He wrapped the animal in his jacket and carried it back to the colony. He did not report the crashed shuttle. He did not mention what he had found. He walked through the back gates, avoided the security cameras, and brought the honey badger to his quarters. Was waiting for him when he arrived. She was the unit medic, a tall woman with red hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She saw the bundle in Danny's arms and raised an eyebrow. "What is that?" she asked. Danny unwrapped the jacket just enough to show her. The honey badger woke up and growled at. She stepped back in surprise. "Is that what I think it is?" she said. "Honey badger," Danny confirmed. "Found him in a crashed shuttle. He is hurt, but he will live." Stared at him. "You know you cannot keep that thing. It is against about 15 different regulations." "I know. You could lose your rank, maybe worse." "I know." Looked at the honey badger. The animal was watching her with open suspicion, its small black eyes tracking her every movement. She sighed and shook her head. "Fine," she said, "but if anyone asks, I never saw it." Danny smiled. "Thank you." Over the next few weeks, Danny nursed the honey badger back to health. He fed it scraps from the mess hall. He let it sleep in a box under his bed. He watched it grow stronger and more confident with each passing day. The animal never became tame. It bit Danny at least once a week. It destroyed 3 pairs of boots and 1 chair. It escaped from his quarters twice and caused chaos in the supply depot both times. But it also followed Danny everywhere. It sat at his feet when he ate. It slept near his head at night. It watched the door whenever he left and greeted him with angry sounds whenever he returned. Danny named the creature Sergeant because it acted like it outranked everyone in the room. His learned about Sergeant eventually. Cole, the tech specialist, was the first to find out. He walked into Danny's quarters unannounced and nearly lost a finger when Sergeant attacked his shoelaces. After that, the whole unit knew. They kept the secret together. Sergeant became their mascot, their good luck charm, their reminder that even on a quiet world far from home, some things were still worth fighting for. None of them knew that the fight was coming sooner than they expected. The ship arrived on a Tuesday morning. Danny was eating breakfast in the mess hall when the alarm sounded. Not the emergency alarm, the diplomatic one. 3 short tones followed by a long one. It meant visitors were coming, important visitors. Everyone in the mess hall stopped eating and looked at each other. Diplomatic visits were rare out here on the frontier. The colony was too small and too far from the core worlds to matter much to politicians. If someone was coming here, it meant trouble. Danny finished his coffee and walked outside with the others. The sky was clear and orange as always. The colony stretched out around them in neat rows of prefabricated buildings. Beyond the perimeter fence, the rocky badlands rolled toward the mountains in the distance. And above those mountains, something was descending through the atmosphere. The ship was black and angular, like a piece of broken obsidian falling from the sky. It moved with a predator's grace, smooth and silent until the last moment when its engines roared, and it settled onto the landing pad in a cloud of dust and heat. Colony Administrator was already waiting at the pad with her staff. She was a small woman with gray hair and a face that showed no emotion. Danny had spoken to her only a few times in 11 months. She seemed competent but cold. The ship's ramp lowered with a hiss of hydraulics. Danny felt his muscles tense as the first figure emerged. They were tall. That was the first thing anyone noticed about them. This one stood at least 7 feet, with broad shoulders and long arms that ended in hands with 4 clawed fingers. Its skin was covered in scales that shifted color in the sunlight, moving from deep green to blue to purple as it walked. Its face was flat and reptilian, with a wide mouth full of teeth and eyes that sat forward like a predator's eyes. It wore armor made of some dark metal, decorated with symbols that Danny did not recognize. More followed, 6 in total. All of them were armed with curved blades and energy weapons that hung from their belts. All of them moved with the same careful grace, scanning the colony with hungry eyes. The first one, the tallest one, stopped in front of Administrator and spoke in a voice that sounded like stones grinding together. "I am Hunt Commander of the Third Claw. I speak for the Dominion in matters of territory. You will take me to your leaders." Did not flinch. "I am the leader here, Hunt Commander. Welcome to Colony 442B. We have prepared quarters for you and your delegation." Looked down at her for a long moment. Something that might have been amusement crossed his face. "Small," he said. "Your leaders are small." He walked past her without another word. His warriors followed. Danny watched them go. He had read about the in-training. Everyone had. They were one of the oldest spacefaring species in the galaxy. Their empire spanned hundreds of star systems. Their culture was built entirely around one thing, the hunt. To the universe was simple. There were predators and there was prey. Predators deserved respect, territory, and the right to hunt. Prey deserved nothing except to be consumed. Every species they encountered was judged by this standard. The strong were welcomed as equals. The weak were conquered or eaten. Humanity had confused them. When humans first made contact with the aliens had expected easy prey. Humans were small. Humans were soft. Humans had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. By every measure they used, humans should have been food. But humans fought back. They fought hard. They won battles that should have been impossible. They refused to surrender even when outnumbered and, after 3 years of bloody conflict, they had agreed to a peace treaty, not because they were losing, but because they were not winning fast enough to make it worth the cost. The treaty had held for 12 years now, but they had never truly accepted humans as equals. To them, humanity was still a question mark, predator or prey. The answer had not yet been decided. Danny returned to his duties and tried not to think about the aliens. But over the next few days, that became impossible. And his warriors were everywhere. They observed the colony's defenses. They watched the settlers work in the fields. They attended meetings that lasted for hours and left everyone exhausted. And they watched the human soldiers. Danny felt those predator eyes on him during every training exercise. Stood at the edge of the practice field with his arms crossed, studying the humans as they ran drills and sparred with each other. His face showed nothing, but Danny could guess what he was thinking. Weak, slow, soft. They did not hide their contempt. They spoke openly about humans in their own language, making sounds that Danny was sure were insults. They bumped into colonists in the hallways and did not apologize. They looked at everything and everyone like they were measuring them for a meal. On the third day, Danny was walking back to his quarters after a long patrol when he heard the commotion. There were voices coming from the central plaza, angry voices. Danny broke into a run. When he arrived, he saw a crowd of colonists standing in a loose circle. In the center of that circle stood 2 of his warriors, and in front of them, hissing and spitting with his fur standing on end, was Sergeant. The honey badger had escaped again. Danny pushed through the crowd. His heart was pounding. Sergeant was facing the 3 aliens without any fear, his small body coiled and ready to attack. The colonists were backing away, clearly terrified that something terrible was about to happen. Was not looking at the crowd. He was looking at Sergeant. His predator eyes were focused with sudden, intense interest. He tilted his head slowly from one side to the other, studying the small creature like a scientist examining a new specimen. "What is this?" asked. His voice was almost gentle. "What creature is this?" Danny stepped between thee and his honey badger. He felt Sergeant press against his ankle, still growling but no longer advancing. "He is mine," Danny said. Looked at him for the first time. Those purple-green eyes moved across Danny's face, measuring him, judging him. "Yours," repeated. "You own this creature." "I take care of him. He is under my protection." The hunt commander made a sound deep in his throat. It might have been a laugh. He looked back at Sergeant, and Danny saw something in those alien eyes that made his blood run cold. "Hunger." "Tell me about this creature," said. "Tell me everything." Danny knew he had made a mistake the moment the words left his mouth. "He is a honey badger," Danny said. "From Earth. They are small predators known for being fearless. They fight animals much larger than themselves. Lions, leopards, hyenas. They eat venomous snakes like they are nothing. They have been known to attack vehicles and chase people out of their own camps. Most animals learn to leave them alone." Listened with his head tilted, his eyes never leaving Sergeant. The honey badger had stopped growling but remained pressed against Danny's leg, watching though with naked hostility. "Fearless," repeated slowly. "This small thing is fearless." "Yes." "It fights predators larger than itself." "Yes." Made that grinding sound again. This time Danny was certain it was laughter. The other warriors joined in, their voices echoing across the plaza. The colonists who had gathered shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to stay or run. "You amuse me, human," said when the laughter stopped. "You claim this creature is a predator, but look at it. It is the size of my foot. It has no armor, its claws are tiny, its teeth are small. By every measure, this is prey." Danny felt his jaw tighten. "By your measure, maybe, not by ours." Stepped closer. He towered over Danny, his shadow falling across both the human and the honey badger at his feet. Danny forced himself not to step back. He kept his eyes on this face. "I have hunted across 40 worlds," said. His voice was soft now, almost intimate. "I have killed creatures that would make your blood freeze. I have tracked prey through jungles of acid and deserts of glass. I have never lost a hunt. Never." He looked down at Sergeant again. "This creature interests me. It thinks it is a predator. I wish to test that belief. I will hunt it before I leave this world." The words hit Danny like a punch to the chest. He heard gasps from the crowd behind him. He heard his voice somewhere in the distance, calling his name. He ignored all of it. "No," Danny said. Blinked. It was the first time Danny had seen him show surprise. "No. You will not hunt him. You will not touch him. He is under my protection." The hunt commander straightened to his full height. His warriors moved to flank him, their hands resting on their weapons. The air in the plaza grew heavy with tension. "You misunderstand," said. "I am not asking permission. The peace treaty between our peoples covers the treatment of humans by. It says nothing about animals. This creature has no rights under our agreement. It is prey. It exists to be hunted." Administrator pushed through the crowd. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Hunt Commander, please, let us discuss this in a more appropriate setting. I am sure we can find a solution that satisfies everyone." Did not look at her. His eyes remained locked on Danny. "There is nothing to discuss. The human may keep his pet for now, but before my ship leaves this world I will have my hunt. This I promise." He turned and walked away. His warriors followed without a word. The crowd parted to let them pass, and then they were gone. Danny stood alone in the center of the plaza with Sergeant at his feet. His hands were shaking. He clenched them into fists to make them stop. Reached him first. She grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the edge of the plaza, away from the watching eyes. Was right behind her, his face tight with worry. "Are you insane?" hissed. "Do you know what you just did?" I told him no. You told a hunt commander that he could not hunt. Do you understand what that means to them? Hunting is their religion. It is their entire culture. You just insulted everything he believes in." Danny looked down at Sergeant. The honey badger was calm now, sniffing at the ground like nothing had happened, like he had not just been threatened by an alien predator 3 times his size. "I do not care about his culture," Danny said quietly. "He is not going to hurt Sergeant." Ran a hand through his hair. "Danny, listen to yourself. It is a honey badger. I love the little guy too, but is he really worth starting an interstellar incident over?" Danny met his friend's eyes. Yes. The next 3 days were the longest of Danny's life. Administrator called him into her office and spent 2 hours explaining exactly how badly he had damaged diplomatic relations. The delegation had filed a formal complaint. There were discussions about removing Danny from his post, maybe even sending him back to Earth in disgrace. Made it clear that she would do whatever was necessary to preserve the peace treaty, even if that meant sacrificing one soldier and his illegal pet. Danny listened to all of it. He nodded at the appropriate moments. He apologized for any inconvenience he had caused. But he did not change his mind. He kept Sergeant with him at all times now. The honey badger rode in a modified pack on Danny's back during patrols. He slept in Danny's quarters behind a locked door. He ate from Danny's hand and watched the world with those angry black eyes that never showed fear. The watch, too. Danny felt their eyes on him constantly, made no more direct threats, but he did not need to. The promise hung in the air between them like a blade waiting to fall. On the second night, found Danny sitting on the roof of the barracks, looking up at the unfamiliar stars. Sergeant was curled up beside him, asleep for once. "You know this is not going to end well," said, sitting down next to him. "I know." "Then why are you doing this, really?" Danny was quiet for a long moment. He scratched Sergeant behind the ears and felt the animal stir slightly in his sleep. "When I was a kid," he finally said, "my grandfather used to tell me stories about honey badgers, how they never gave up, how they fought things 10 times their size and won, how they were so mean and so stubborn that even lions learned to walk away." He looked in the darkness. "He said that is what humans used to be like, before we got comfortable, before we forgot what it meant to fight for something just because it mattered. He said we used to be the honey badgers of Earth." Did not respond. She just sat with him in the silence, watching the stars turn slowly overhead. On the third night, came for his hunt. Danny was making his final rounds when they found him. The storage bay at the edge of the colony was quiet and dark. It was full of equipment that nobody used anymore, old machinery covered in dust and forgotten crates stacked against the walls. Danny had come here to check a faulty sensor. Sergeant rode in his pack, half asleep and grumbling softly. The first stepped out of the shadows to his left. The second appeared on his right. 2 more blocked the main door behind him, and walked slowly out of the darkness ahead, his scales catching the dim light and throwing strange patterns across the walls. "Did you think you could hide from me forever?" asked. His voice echoed in the empty space. "Did you think I would forget my promise?" Danny stopped walking. He counted the aliens in his head, 5 total including the hunt commander, all armed, all between him and any exit. He took a slow breath. "I thought you might change your mind," Danny said. "I thought maybe you would realize this was not worth the trouble." Laughed. It was a cold sound like ice cracking. "Worth the trouble, human. You have made this hunt more interesting than any I have had in years. A small prey animal that believes it is a predator. A soft human who believes he can protect it. The challenge is almost worthy of respect." He stepped closer. His warriors did not move, but Danny could feel them tensing, ready to act at their commander's signal. "But all hunts must end," continued. "Give me the creature. Step aside, and you may leave with your life and your honor intact. I offer this courtesy because you have shown courage, even if it is foolish courage." Danny felt Sergeant shift in the pack on his back. The honey badger was awake now, growling softly at the aliens that surrounded them. He could feel the vibration of it against his spine. Slowly, carefully, Danny reached back and unclipped the pack. He lowered it to the ground and let Sergeant out. The honey badger immediately positioned himself behind Danny's legs, facing though with his teeth bared and his fur standing on end. Danny straightened up. He raised his right hand, palm open, fingers spread. He held it out toward like he was stopping traffic on a busy road. "One hand," Danny said. His voice was calm and steady. "One warning. You take one more step toward him, and I will show you exactly what kind of predators humans really are." The storage bay went silent. The warriors exchanged glances, stood perfectly still, his eyes fixed on Danny's raised hand. Then he smiled. It was the first time Danny had seen a smile, and it was terrifying. Too many teeth, too much hunger. "One warning," repeated. "I accept your terms, human." He took one step forward. Danny moved. He had trained for this his entire adult life. Close quarters combat against physically superior opponents. The instructors had called it giant killing. They had taught him that size and strength meant nothing if you knew where to strike. Every creature had weak points, joints, pressure points, soft tissue. The bigger they were, the more vulnerable those points became. Was fast for his size. His clawed hand shot toward Danny's throat with killing speed. But Danny was faster. He ducked under the strike and stepped inside this reach. His left hand grabbed his wrist. His right elbow drove into the soft scales at the inside of the alien's arm, right where the joint bent. There was a sound like wood cracking, roared in pain and fury. Danny did not stop. He used the alien's forward momentum against him, pulling him off balance while sweeping his legs. 7 feet of predator crashed to the ground with a force that shook the floor. Before could recover, Danny was on top of him. His combat knife appeared in his hand like magic. The blade pressed against the soft scales beneath the hunt commander's jaw, right where the major blood vessels ran close to the surface. 4 seconds, maybe less. It had all happened in 4 seconds. The warriors surged forward, weapons raised and murder in their eyes. Sergeant charged at them. The honey badger moved like a gray blur, hissing and snarling with a fury that seemed impossible for something so small. He went for the nearest warrior's ankle, biting through the scales and drawing blood. The alien screamed and stumbled backward. The other warriors hesitated. They had never seen anything like this. A creature the size of their food was attacking them. It showed no fear. It did not run. It did not try to hide. It just kept coming, slashing and biting at anything within reach. That hesitation was all the time Danny's squad needed. And burst through the side door with 6 other soldiers behind them. They had tracked Danny when he did not check in. They had heard the commotion from outside. Now they spread out with their weapons drawn, forming a line between the warriors and their commander. The storage bay became very quiet. Danny leaned close to his face. The alien was breathing hard, his injured arm hanging limp at his side. His eyes burned with rage, but he did not move. He could not move. The knife at his throat made sure of that. "Listen to me carefully," Danny said. His voice was barely above a whisper, but every word was clear. "We did not become the dominant species on our planet because we were prey. We became dominant because nothing could make us back down. Not predators bigger than us. Not environments that should have killed us. Not each other." He pressed the blade slightly harder against the alien's scales. "And certainly not you." Stared at him. For the first time since they had met, there was something new in those predator eyes. Not fear exactly, but something close, something like respect. "Your people look at us and see weakness," Danny continued. "You see small bodies and soft skin and no natural weapons, but you are looking at the wrong things. Our weapon is this." He tapped his temple with his free hand. "And this." He placed his palm flat against his chest, over his heart. "We think, we plan, we adapt, and we never ever give up, not for ourselves, not for the things we love, not for anything." He looked down at Sergeant, who had stopped attacking and was now sitting at the feet of a very nervous warrior, licking blood off his claws. "That honey badger weighs 15 pounds, but he was ready to die fighting creatures 100 times his size, because that is what he is. That is what we are. Danny pulled the knife back and stood up. He stepped away from and offered the alien his hand. "The hunt is over," he said. "Now what happens next is up to you." The next morning, Danny expected to be arrested. He had attacked a hunt commander. He had drawn blood. He had humiliated one of the most powerful warriors in the alien delegation in front of his own soldiers. By any reasonable measure, he had just started an interstellar war. But the arrest never came. Instead, Administrator called him to her office at dawn. She looked tired, like she had not slept all night. There were dark circles under her eyes and her hair was slightly out of place. For the first time since Danny had known her, she actually looked human. "They have filed a report with their High Council," she said. Her voice was flat, carefully controlled. "They have described everything that happened last night in detail." Danny stood at attention in front of her desk. "I understand, ma'am. I accept full responsibility for my actions." Stared at him for a long moment. Then, to his complete shock, she smiled. "You do not understand anything," she said. "Sit down, Corporal. You need to hear this." She pushed a data pad across the desk toward him. Danny sat and picked it up. The text on the screen was a translation of the report, filled with formal language and unfamiliar terms. But the meaning was clear. The report did not condemn Danny. It praised him. It described the fight in the storage bay as a worthy display of Predator spirit. It noted that Danny had defeated a superior opponent through skill and courage rather than numbers or technology. It specifically mentioned that he had shown mercy when mercy was not required, offering his hand to a fallen enemy instead of finishing the kill. The final paragraph declared that Corporal Danny Vance had demonstrated the heart of a true hunter and recommended that he be recognized as an equal under custom. Danny read it 3 times before looking up. "I do not understand." "Neither did I at first," said, "but I have been talking with scholars all night. It turns out their culture is more complicated than we thought. Hunting is not just about killing prey. It is about proving your worth, about demonstrating courage and skill, about earning respect through action." She leaned back in her chair. "You did not just beat, you impressed him. You showed him something he had never seen before. A human who fought like a predator. A human who protected something smaller than himself not because he had to, but because he chose to." Danny set down the data pad. His head was spinning. "So the treaty is safe." "The treaty is better than safe. The High Council has requested a meeting with Earth's government to discuss expanding our cooperation. They want to learn more about us, about how we think, about how we fight." She smiled again, and this time there was genuine warmth in it. "Congratulations, Corporal. You may have just changed the course of human relations forever." That afternoon, requested a private meeting with Danny. They met in the same storage bay where they had fought the night before. The broken crates had been cleared away, but Danny could still see marks on the floor where the hunt commander had fallen. Stood in the center of the room, his injured arm wrapped in a medical brace. His warriors waited outside. Danny entered alone. Sergeant rode in his pack, watching with the same suspicious eyes as always. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then bowed his head. It was a shallow bow, barely a movement at all. But Danny understood its significance. Among the showing your throat to another creature was the ultimate sign of respect. "I owe you words," said. His voice was quieter than before, stripped of its arrogance. "I have spent my life measuring the worth of others by their bodies, by their claws and their fangs and their strength. I looked at humans and saw soft creatures, weak creatures, prey." He raised his head and met Danny's eyes. "I was wrong." Danny felt something shift in his chest. He had expected many things from this meeting. An apology was not one of them. "Your species is not weak," continued. "You are something my people have never encountered before. You evolved not as apex predators through physical power. You became apex predators through something else, through will, through refusal to accept your place in any natural order. He looked at Sergeant, who was still watching him from the pack on Danny's back. You looked at creatures larger than yourselves, stronger than yourselves, deadlier than yourselves, and you decided that they were the prey. You bent the world to your will through pure stubborn determination. That is not weakness. That is a different kind of strength. Reached into a pouch at his belt and something small and metallic. It was a pendant on a chain, shaped like a curved claw. The metal caught the light and gleamed like silver. Among my people there is a tradition, said. When a hunter meets another hunter who has proven their worth, they may declare them a hunt brother, an equal, a predator worthy of respect. He held out the pendant toward Danny. I offer this to you, Danny Vance, not because I must, because you earned it. Will you accept? Danny looked at the pendant. He thought about everything that had led to this moment. The crashed shuttle in the Badlands, the angry little creature he had found in the wreckage, the promise he had made to protect that creature, even when everyone told him he was being foolish. He reached out and took the pendant. I accept, he said. His face changed. It was not quite a smile, but it was close. He nodded once and stepped back. There is one more matter, he said. The creature you protect, the honey badger. Danny tensed slightly. What about him? I have filed a formal request with the Registry of Species. I have asked that honey badgers be added to our list of recognized predators, creatures worthy of respect, creatures that may not be hunted without consequence. He looked at Sergeant again, and this time there was something like admiration in his eyes. I have described him as the smallest and mightiest predator I have ever encountered, because that is what he is. The delegation left that evening. Danny stood on the observation platform and watched their ship rise into the orange sky. Sergeant sat on his shoulder, growling softly at the shrinking black shape until it disappeared among the clouds. Walked up beside him. She stood in silence for a moment, following his gaze upward. You really risked an interstellar war for a honey badger, she finally said. Her voice was somewhere between disbelief and wonder. Danny reached up and scratched Sergeant behind the ears. The honey badger made a sound that might have been contentment, though it still sounded angry. He always sounded angry. He would have done the same for me, Danny said. Laughed. It was a good sound, warm and real. Yeah, she said, I believe he would. They stood together on the platform as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. The colony was quiet around them. The frontier stretched out into the distance, full of unknown dangers and unexpected friends. Danny looked down at the pendant hanging around his neck. Hunt brother, equal predator. He thought about his grandfather back on Earth, about the stories the old man used to tell, about honey badgers and the humans who used to be like them. Maybe Danny thought we still are. He turned away from the sunset and walked back toward the colony. Sergeant rode on his shoulder, watching the world with those fearless black eyes, ready for whatever came next. Because that was what predators did. They never backed down.